Hello everyone, today I'm going to continue on listing the features that the VBC Lightning 12M has to offer. Now in my previous videos I talked about the rear pod assembly and also this chassis cross brace which holds the damper tube, springs and all that. Now I'm going to focus my attention forward. I'm looking at the central damper, the floating servo mount and the bell crank system, and probably a few little bits and pieces for the front end as well. Now, the central damper unit is the Tbx Shock. This is VBC's own design. So it's quite unique in the sense that the actual piston shaft goes through the body, but also up and through to this point here. I've never seen this design before, but it's quite easy to build. And it's very consistent and it's leak free, so VBC has done a really good job with developing a nice central damper, which is key for 1/12 scale. You want something that's nice and consistent. I'll do a video on how to build it properly, but yes, very impressed with the actual central damper. Now, one thing to note is the spring that is used on this type of shock. It's a slightly larger diameter spring, so you cannot use an associated spring or a CRC spring. It has to be like a larger diameter, like Yokomo, Morotech spring, or even using VBC's own springs will work just as fine. But if you're looking for other options, you'll have to look at Yokomo or Morotech. Now, underneath here, there are multiple shock hole positions. So you can adjust the position of the shock depending on the conditions. So that's a nice feature. Now moving on to the actual floating servo mount. Now this is 3.7 millimeter thick carbon fiber. So this is very stiff. So you're not going to have any issues with flexing. Also, there is a support stay in behind here, which is a little bit hard. So it adds an extra bit of reinforcement to the already mounted position here. So you have the mounted position here and also right here. So the actual servo itself is not touching the chassis. As you can see here, there's a bit of an air gap. Now you can adjust, what I've actually done is I've actually adjusted the height of the servo. The kit settings will allow the servo to be up higher, but I wanted to keep the center of gravity as low as possible, and so I added some spacers here and here just to bring the servo down a little bit. This will, the spacers will vary depending on, what servo you have. The dimensions will be a little bit different, but any servo will mount into this servo mount. As you can see here, you can slide the servo back and forth to accommodate for any servo size. Now, if we move forward here, we have the bell crank system. Now, the bell crank system is quite a unique system here. As you can see here, it's all CNC machined aluminum. And the really neat feature of this setup here is you can adjust the Ackerman quickly and effectively. So you don't need to be mucking around with different bell crank positions. All you need to do is simply adjust the screw like so to loosen the screw, and you can move it to adjust the increment position at any increment that you would like. So it's very quick and effective. This is offered on the 12M and also on the Lightning FX, which is the F1 series. So this is a great feature to have. It's quick, effective. You can check to see how the Ackerman will affect the car's handling. You don't have to worry about pulling out plastic Ackermans and then inserting another one. So that's a really neat feature. Really, really smart idea. I really like this. Now moving to the front end here, I've gone ahead and I've disassembled the front cross brace. Now, You can go ahead and use the carbon fiber cross brace, but you can also, which this comes as in the kit, this is the like damper tube cross brace. Now, as you can see here, you have a similar design to that of your side damper tubes, where you can actually put damper tube grease into this area here, and you'll have an actual dampening system here, which I thought is a neat idea. I haven't seen anyone do this style of dampening. So this will give you, if it was mounted in this position, this will give you a bit of dampening for the front end. And you can probably go ahead and maybe take the O-rings out and test to see how the car handles with just the dampening grease that you used on the actual brace. But yeah, so I thought that was a unique feature that they offer. For the front end itself, you have beautifully CNC machined aluminum caster blocks and lower bulkheads. As you can see here, I'm currently running the VBC upper arms. Now, VBC does offer two types of composite materials. You have your like regular plastic, which is this here, and you also can order the VBC harder composite, harder plastics. But overall, the durability is really, really good with this car. I've had no issues with the car braking or handling in any strange ways, so I've been thoroughly impressed with how this front end has been working so far. Very consistent, and yeah, it's a great car. I highly suggest picking up this chassis for your next 1/12 scale. That's pretty much it for the front end assembly. If you have any questions, please let me know. Just one quick bit of information here. If you want to run the forward servo position, the actual holes have been drilled here, so you can go ahead and run a forward servo position. Also, if you don't necessarily want the actual servo, floating servo mount on the sides, you can go ahead and mount the servo onto the chassis as well. So there's multiple options when it comes to mounting your servo onto the chassis. You can have a forward position or a side position, but I know for a fact that they are coming out with a floating servo mount for the forward position, but that hasn't come out yet. But anyway, I hope this video was of help. Please check out VBC Racing. Really nice products. I've had such a great time so far with testing this car out, and definitely put it on your list for your next 1/12 scale. Okay, bye-bye.